Sometimes a game comes along that just looks ridiculously ambitious, like the kind of project where you wonder how the developers even attempted something this big in the first place. Crimson Desert has always felt exactly like that. From what we've seen so far, the game is combining massive open world exploration, large scale battles, dynamic weather systems, extremely detailed environments, and some seriously impressive lighting technology. And now that we finally got a closer look at gameplay running on the PS5 Pro, we could start to understand how this huge world actually performs on console. So today, we're going to break down what this footage really shows, the graphics, the world design, the technology powering it, and why this game might end up being one of the most technically impressive open world titles we've seen in years. Because honestly, some of those things happening here are pretty wild. Also to note, I emailed Digital Foundry for permission and they actually responded, which was an awesome moment, and I want to give extra thank you to them. Before talking about the visuals, the biggest question for a game like this is always performance. When you have a huge open world packed with dynamic systems, lighting, physics, and AI characters all happening at the same time, performance can become a serious challenge. On PS5 Pro, the game appears to offer multiple graphical modes designed to balance performance and visual quality. One mode focuses on smoother gameplay with higher frame rates, while other prioritize resolution and graphic detail. During normal exploration, the game seems to run fairly smoothly, especially when traveling through open world environments. But when things get more intense, like large encounters or areas filled with characters, the system clearly has to work harder. That's not unusual for large open world games. Anytime multiple systems are running at once, combat, physics, AI behavior, lighting calculations, performance demands increase dramatically. Considering the scale of what this game is doing though, the results actually look pretty solid overall. Another thing that stands out in the footage is the draw distance. You can see extremely far across the world without environments disappearing or turning into low detailed models. That's where the PS5 Pro's additional GPU power likely comes into play. The game can keep more environmental detail visible at longer distances. Mountains, forests, and settlements remain visible across huge stretches of terrain. In many open world games, distant environments often lose detail very quickly, but here the landscape remains surprisingly detailed even far away. That helps the world feel much larger and more continuous. Instead of feeling like separate zones, everything feels connected. Lighting is another area where the PS5 Pro version seems to shine. You can see sunlight interacting with the environment dynamically, creating realistic shadows across terrain and structures. As the time of day changes, the lighting shifts naturally across the world. The PS5 Pro hardware likely allows the game to run more advanced lighting calculations in real time. That means shadows move realistically, reflections appear more accurate, and environments look more natural overall. Night scenes are especially interesting. Instead of bright artificial lighting everywhere, darkness actually feels convincing. Small light sources like torches and lanterns illuminate nearby objects while leaving surrounding areas darker. That kind of lighting contrast creates a much more immersive atmosphere. Water is one of the more technically demanding visual systems in open world games. In the PS5 Pro footage, the water simulation appears surprisingly complex. Waves move dynamically across the surface and interact with the environment. When waves hit rocks or cliffs, they break naturally instead of simply passing through objects. Characters moving through the water create ripples that spread outward across the surface. Those ripples then interact with other water movements happening nearby. What's impressive is that this level of detail appears even across large bodies of water. The ocean doesn't look flat or static, it constantly shifts and moves. Maintaining that level of simulation across a massive world would normally be very demanding, which makes it interesting to see it running on console hardware. One thing that really stands out when watching the PS5 Pro footage is how dense the environments feel. Forests are packed with vegetation, grass covers huge areas of terrain, trees and plants react to wind and weather conditions. This kind of environmental density can become extremely expensive for hardware to render. Every tree, bush, and blade of grass adds to the graphical workload. But the PS5 Pro version appears to maintain that density without aggressively reducing detail. That means the world still feels rich and full rather than empty or simplified. And that makes exploration much more immersive, because environments feel like real ecosystems instead of carefully limited game spaces. Weather systems are another feature that can heavily impact performance. Rain, wind, lightning, and environmental reactions all require additional calculations from the hardware. In the PS5 Pro footage, storms appear to affect the environment in several ways. Rain changes how surface reflects light, wind causes vegetation to move more dramatically, lighting conditions shift depending on the intensity of the storm. Despite these additional effects, the game still appears to maintain relatively stable performance during these moments. That suggests the engine is doing a good job managing multiple systems running simultaneously. So after breaking down the footage, it's pretty clear that Crimson Desert is pushing a lot of systems at once on the PS5 Pro. Massive draw distance, dense environments, dynamic lighting, complex water physics, large-scale weather systems, and all of that happening inside one huge open world. There's still more we need to see before the final release, but based on this footage, the PS5 Pro version looks extremely promising. The real test will be how consistent performance stays once players start exploring the full world next week. But if the game can maintain this level of visual quality across the entire map, Crimson Desert could end up being one of the most technically impressive open world games released on console. But I'm curious what you think. Does the PS5 Pro footage look as impressive to you as it does to me? Or do you think the game might still struggle once everything is happening at once? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want more Crimson Desert coverage as we get closer to launch, make sure to subscribe, because there's still a lot more to uncover about this game. And final thought, thank you again to Digital Foundry for letting me use the footage that they recently uploaded.